Hello and namaste. I am your host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo. Thank you for joining me for an episode of Meditations. Today's meditation is a sort of ad hoc meditation that I started doing inspired by the simple act of watching inner worlds, outer worlds. I'm doing this without technically asking for permission, but for the greater good and on the same mission that the inner worlds, outer worlds people are on. And I'm fully citing them. It's a great film. If you've never seen it, go watch it. This particular segment of text hit me the first time I watched it. It hit me in that palpable way that confirmed or called out to me, spoke to me saying, contemplate this, meditate this, and help this become something people share. The music sort of happens to be something I discovered on Insight Timer, an honest, genuine endorsement here, non-commercial. They don't know me. I'm just a user. It's a great app. It's got a lot of awesome and wide-ranging types of meditation tracks for you to, especially for beginners, to sort of just, stick their toes in the water. I find it very helpful for sort of long-term accountability. But I digress. The music is by Rick Bader. He's also available on YouTube. He is a self-described sonic Reiki healer. And after many months of meditating with the app, his little collection of music has been a set that I just have a good positive association and tingly sort of like I want to go back to them feeling. So I often find myself meditating with them. And this happened to just organically happen, that I put on the track and I didn't really know what kind of meditation I wanted to do. I just wanted to do something interesting. And my computer was still on. And I have long used the text in meme form or in image macro form as a sort of visual reminder, as a image macro / mandala, without it being overtly, geometric object mandala. But it's a visual icon that I like to stare at sometimes. And it hit me that I'd been doing that for quite some time and just taking in the whole image and in that process reading the words. And that organically grew into reciting the words out loud. And that I liked this particular pairing. This track is 11 minutes, 11 seconds long. And it seems just the right amount of time to repeat a very wordy, complex mantra without getting too exhausted. I've found it, using this text as a mantra, to be self-evidently effective. And that's my reason for sharing it with you today like this. I hope no legal entities get upset at me and sue me to desist, but if anyone throws a cease and desist order for using this material, I will. It's fine. I'm doing this. Before we begin, I want to set a sort of mindset. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening and joining and seeking a meditation to try out for yourself. And I hope that this works for you. And if it doesn't, I hope that you share me some not too hate-filled commentary as to why it does not work for you. But I hope that you actually genuinely try it. I've been working with this mantra on and off for 2 years now, and I think it's something that is worth sharing, and not because of any other reason that it seems to be helpful. And that's all you can really ask for especially at the beginning level meditation, is something that is helpful to our experience, to our feeling healthy and good and connected and grounded, etc., etc. So without further ado, without further introduction, I'm going to read the mantra, or this text. Again, it's from Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds. I take no credit for writing it. I'm not trying to profiteer on other people's artwork. Go support them. Go support Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds. Go support Rick Bader, especially if you find the following practice something that you feel attracted to doing as part of your collection of mantras or whatnot, or tools in your tool bag, as it were, for meditation. I don't really have a name for this, but the first 3 words of the text is or are, and that's often like the default title, right? The true crisis. It's not negative, it's not scary, it's not alarming. So I invite you to sit comfortably, lay down if you prefer. Although there are some ancient teachings that say certain postures are mandatory, I generally have found that for the basic fundamentals of, especially of introductory level meditation practice, any position that is comfortable for you works. And you will drift out of position if you aren't lying down. And lying down works. But if you're lying down, you risk drifting into sleep. Those are okay. They are part of your practice, and you'll understand how and why as you work through the daily grind of committing to this time. Okay, so as we read this text together, and I hope to have an image attached on all the platforms as soon as I can, where this is available. As we read this text together, just breathe as you can. Forgive the times when we fall out of timing. And as with all meditation practice, because it's inevitable, especially in the beginning stages, when random distracting thoughts of any kind, of any nature, good or bad, thoughts or feelings arise, recognize them, honor them as recognized, and then shoo them off like children that have a playroom to go shoo off to. Go to your playroom, go away, and ask them to leave you alone, like literally as the center of yourself. Ask your thoughts to leave you in peace as you attempt to meditate. I know that sounds complicated and a lot of things to remember while trying to meditate, but it's one bit of advice that I found a long time ago that is extremely useful, because otherwise we turned it into a confrontational battle, right? I'm sure I'll talk about that more on some other episode of one of the other segments. So find yourself in a comfortable position. Get into a nice, relaxed, aware breathing. Be aware of your breath. Don't control it artificially. Don't neglect it and let it shallow out into that sort of almost no breath. Just breathe. Oh, my audio box turned itself off. I apologize to you, audience. I don't have no means of editing this live recording. There we go. Gather yourself in silence. Forgive whatever thoughts are whirling around in your mind and shoo them away with love and compassion. And as I say these words, understand this: I am simultaneously, along with these other artists, I am sure, whether they realize it or not, transmitting to you, dear listener. We are transmitting to you love, compassion, and that energy of curiosity for inward speculation and investigation. The true crisis in our world is not social, political, or economic. Our crisis is a crisis of consciousness, an inability to directly experience our true nature, an inability to recognize this nature in everyone and in all things. Realizing there is only one consciousness. To awaken one's true self, one must awaken all beings. There are innumerable sentient beings in the universe. I vow to help them all to awaken. My imperfections are inexhaustible. I vow to overcome them all. The Dharma is unknowable. I vow to know it. The way of awakening is unattainable. I vow to attain it. The true crisis in our world is not social, political, or economic. Our crisis is a crisis of consciousness, an inability to recognize directly, experience our true nature, an inability to recognize directly this nature in everyone else and in all things. Realizing there is only one consciousness. To awaken one's true self, one must awaken all beings. There are innumerable sentient beings in the universe. I vow to help them all to awaken. My imperfections are inexhaustible. I vow to overcome them all. The Dharma is unknowable. I vow to know it. The way of awakening is unattainable. I vow to attain it. The true crisis in our world is not social, political, or economic. Our crisis is a crisis of consciousness. An inability to directly experience our true nature. An inability to recognize this nature in everyone and all things. Realizing there is only one consciousness. To awaken one's true self, one must awaken all beings. There are innumerable sentient beings in the universe. I vow to help them all to awaken. My imperfections are inexhaustible. I vow to overcome them all. The Dharma is unknowable. I vow to know it. The way of awakening is unattainable. I vow to attain it. The true crisis in our world is not social, political, or economic. Our crisis is a crisis of consciousness, an inability to directly experience our true nature. An inability to recognize this nature in everyone and in all things. Realizing there is only one consciousness. To awaken one's true self, one must awaken all beings. There are innumerable sentient beings in the universe. I vow to help them all to awaken. My imperfections are inexhaustible. I vow to overcome them all. The Dharma is unknowable. I vow to know it. The way of awakening is unattainable. I vow to attain it. The true crisis in our world is not social, political, or economic. Our crisis is a crisis of consciousness, an inability to directly experience our true nature, an inability to recognize this nature in everyone and in all things, realizing there is only one consciousness. To awaken one's true self, one must awaken all beings. There are innumerable sentient beings in the universe. I vow to help them all to awaken. My imperfections are inexhaustible. I vow to overcome them all. The Dharma is unknowable. I vow to know it. The way of awakening is unattainable. I vow to attain it. Om Shani Metta Shanti Om Namaste. May all sentient beings in all levels of the universe benefit from this meditation. I want to humbly thank you for listening, dear listener. I want to thank Rick Bader, who does not know me, and hopefully does not find offense in this little impromptu collaboration, this remote, disjointed collaboration I just forced him into. And same goes to the people, the whole group of people, but of course, whoever wrote that passage specifically, from inner worlds, outer worlds. My love and gratitude and spiritual energy goes out to them and to you, dear listener, and to the world wherever it is needed. And I invite you, my friends, my followers, my fans, and yes, even you, my haters, to join in broadcasting love and energy. I don't know how many more ways to say it. That is literally the answer. We've been told, we have told ourselves, we have buried ourselves in this illusion of separation and in this, this nightmare of war and oppression and revolution and rebellion. And it just goes round and round like a meat grinder merry-go-round of meat grinding. And we've told ourselves the lesson many times before. It's time to step up and to realize that it doesn't mean the petty, shallow, commercialized forms of love that we've all been conditioned to neglect, to expect and demand and neglect, but rather the deep, genuine, open heart on fire love that our body knows how to broadcast intuitively, the way a cat knows how to wiggle its tail without reading a book about tail wagging. On that note, I must leave you, my friends, for real life pressures must be attended to, as always. I hope this meditation was, if nothing else, interesting to you and invigorating, and I hope that you try it. Sit with it a few times and let me know how it works. May peace, love, and grooviness be with you all.